Hi guys, we're back, and of course we're late again because we are the No Name Cinema Society. Here with our fancy new graphics. It's time for Indie Spotlight, and tonight we're talking about The Debt, as you might have seen on that graphic there. I'm Jonathan Betzler. I'm one of your hosts for the evening, and our last Indie Spotlight did real well, so maybe this is going to be a new trend because they had not been doing as well traditionally. Now, and here is where we are on our evening schedule. So there you can see, we just did Keanu. You can still see that online on our channel. And we're doing The Debt right now. We've got Lion and Winter coming up in about half an hour, assuming we stay on time. And then we got the freeform sound off at the end of the evening. So this movie, by the way, is not about the money I owe Jay Money. And here he is right now, one of my co-hosts. Jay Money, you excited?
I'm excited. I'm excited to collect, though.
Yeah, we should talk about that maybe. Also, you've caught me in the middle of a photo transition, so before I introduce our other host, do you have anything else you want to say to buy me to? Actually, I'm done, so we're good. And our other host is Davy Joe, Drunk Davy. How you doing? You're the populist, apparently.
Yeah, that's what it says.
You can see how much he's embraced his title there. So anyway,
he's totally cool with it.
So the trivia answer, if you've been following on the show, that when our last show was Dangerous Method, and I gave a hint of what this movie was going to be, and we also did a trivia on Facebook. The trivia is that this director was a director of a film in the 90s that won Best Picture. However, he did not win Best Director, which is true of Alfred Hitchcock, Cecil B. DeMille, Norman Jewison, Ridley Scott, Ben Affleck, Tom McCarthy. All of them have directed Best Picture winners without having won a Best Director Oscar themselves. John Madden, of course, directed Shakespeare in Love in 1998, losing Best Director to Saving Private Ryan's Steven Spielberg. And that's the trivia tidbit for the evening about this movie. So let's start talking about it, shall we?
Let's. Yep.
That was rhetorical, guys.
I thought we had some choice in the matter.
Nope, you do not have a choice in the matter, as it happens. So anyway, this movie, The Debt, it's about Mossad agents. Mossad agents, the Israeli version of the CIA, track a Nazi war criminal known as the Surgeon of Birkenau to East Berlin in 1965, and are assigned to kidnap him to Israel to stand trial for his war crimes. The events of that mission had ramifications that rippled through the lives of these people over the next 30 years. Now, if you have been paying attention, you know pretty much all 2016 so far, we've been discussing indies from 2011. It's 5 years ago, nice round number. And so far, I've been making the recommendations, and these guys have been having to watch it. And even though that my little title here says 2010. That was when it was released in Britain. It's a 2011 movie as far as American standards are concerned. So I'm done with that title. I'm not bringing that title back up. It's incorrect. Anyway, so
it's on IMDb, man.
We've been doing these movies, and I've been doing like my favorite 2011 movies and going down. However, after rewatching it, I might want to put this over my last two indies, The Dangerous Method and Win-Win. Which both were ahead of this in my initial top 10 list from 2011, but all were on my top 10. But I like this a lot after rewatching it, in spite of Sam Worthington's presence. I think that,
wow,
it's a tense taut thriller, which is kind of unlike John Madden's oeuvre, if you will. And as far as I'm concerned, at the time that I first saw this, it is a coming out party for Jessica Chastain. I think she gives a layered, rich performance in this movie. I think it's a terrific, intelligent screenplay from the writer of my #1 movie of 2011, same writer as X-Men First Class, if you can believe that, in terms of the screenplay. And the other thing that I noticed watching it this time is the incredible sound design and how much that played into the narrative. With that in mind, had either of you guys ever seen it before you say whether or not you like it? First time, Davey?
I had not seen it.
All right. Jay Money, you get your opening thoughts first.
I think that I would agree with a lot of your sentiment about this movie, but ultimately I thought that there were just too many balls in the air and that it suffered because of that.
And I know I don't want to give Davey a chance, but it balls in the air. You mean like in terms of going back and forth between 30 years and so forth and so on?
There's you could say that there's plot points. Also, just the fact that there was so much talent in certain ways. There was almost too much talent in this movie to be able to fit it in. So,
ladies and gentlemen, I just want to point out that J Money's complaint about this movie, it's too much talent. He can't take all the talent.
He can't take the talent. Can't take it all.
Davey Joe, your opening cut.
I was worried when I saw this movie. I was worried that J Money might actually like it. I'm relieved. We're good.
Come on, dude. What?
I know. I was like, ooh, I don't know. But I loved it. I thought it was. I was definitely, the suspense was there. I have a question for you, JB, but we'll get to it. I guess hopefully it'll come up on its own. But
yeah. Maybe yeah. Let's maybe let it and see. If it doesn't come up in about 10 minutes, then or maybe let's see how much time we have left. We have 10 minutes left. So in 8 minutes, if it hasn't come up, let me know. First thing that I think stands out about this movie is Matthew Vaughn, as we know, the director of we know from Kick-Ass and The Kingsman. He also directed my favorite movie of 2011, X-Men: First Class, which has been debated on this show in the past. He was one of the writers on this and producers, and Jane Goldman, who wrote the screenplay for X-Men: First Class. I think it's a great screenplay. I think it is. One of the things I appreciate about it is, and maybe this is where J Money lost, is I feel like there's a trust in the audience in this screenplay. In the information that they're wanting to give out, and it allows for the audience to infer things, and it's very intelligent, and it trusts that your audience's intelligence too. And I really liked it. I liked that it was character driven, and I like the structure. I like the way it could have been a mess going back and forth between 1965 and 1997. I liked how that was handled. I like how it started out in that. I like the initial time we see the inciting incident. We don't see the whole story, or we see a fabricated version of it to some degree. I liked all that about it. I think there was a lot of smart stuff going on here, and of course it's based on a pre-existing Israeli film, so it had that foundation. But so screenplay is my first thought. David Joe, what do you think?
I loved the way it was structured, the way it bounced back and forth, and the way that there was kind of the flash forward. I thought that really kind of set expectations and kind of gave you the twist. It was perfect.
And I just want to say, I feel like as far as Davey's concerned, and we don't always, as if you watch the show a lot, you know that we very, I'd say maybe agree 40%, 50% of the time. But these indies that I've been recommending, feel like I'm on a roll, you and me, Davey Joe, on these indies.
Yeah, no, you're doing well.
But let's go back to our hater real quick. And so in terms of the screenplay, J Money, I just made the case for it. How do you respond?
I would agree with what you said for, I guess, basically 2/3 of the movie. To me, it was the last act that just kind of fell apart, and that's where...
So the last act where Helen Mirren took control.
Yeah, but I want to be clear. I'm not really faulting Helen Mirren's performance in this, because I certainly think...
Oh, no. I'm not suggesting that you are. I'm clarifying for myself what you mean.
Yeah. That's basically what I'm talking about. I mean, I think when they bring the conflict into the present day, or what was the present day for the movie, that's when things get a little more dicey for me, and where I kind of... I guess I felt like it faltered a little bit from my point of view.
Okay. But now it makes me want to bring up the bullet point that I had as the last bullet point here, because it is towards the ending. So, but it might be worthwhile to bring up now, just to keep the flow of the conversation. My question to you guys is, I mean, obviously I enjoy the film a lot, really well directed, and maybe we'll have time to get to that. But is the moral dilemma of the film, and maybe this gets at what J Money, I'm always trying to guess what J Money's issue is, and I'm frequently wrong, but maybe this is what J Money's getting at, is how is it important for them to, I guess, like this idea of truth versus lying. I mean, because honestly, I didn't see the big deal in the lie, personally, in maintaining the illusion of the lie. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say the lie?
Yeah.
So I guess the question is the issue that the need to have this closure in present day did that feel like the stakes were low there? Like, what are your is that sort of getting at what your issue is, J Money?
Well, yeah, I guess in a sense. I mean, I don't think I necessarily felt like the stakes were low because of that, and I also don't necessarily have a problem with them pursuing that from the story point of view. I think it's more about how they dealt with it specifically that I might have, some issue with.
Well, this is an older movie, so I mean, I'm gonna give you some leeway to like say a little bit more. It's five years old, so let's assume some of the viewers have seen it anyway. What can you be a little more specific in what you mean?
Sure. I mean, we can talk about the relationship that formed between Jessica Chastain / Helen Mirren's character Rachel and their captive, who is the supposed butcher.
Okay, well, hold on, time out. That's in the middle of the movie, like specifically the last act.
Yeah, but I'm getting to that. The point is, what I'm saying is, I think that there was an interesting relationship established between them in the middle of the movie, and I feel like the end of the movie almost kind of jettisoned some of the bigger ideas from that relationship for some kind of flashy, almost action-y scene at the end, which to me just didn't feel right. It felt kind of tacked on. I guess I would have liked to have seen more happen with them as opposed to it being a really kind of quick tie-up, kind of a quick little resolution.
I'm interested to know how you interpret that relationship, because I like that relationship too, but I don't feel that way about the ending. I don't feel like that alters her behavior at all in any way. But what can you expand upon that? Because I feel like that.
Well, it's not like I feel like I can say like, oh, it should have gone in this direction. As much as I would say that I think that their relationship in the movie is probably one of the most interesting parts of the movie for me. And so by the end of it, when they deal with it very quickly and without really any kind of, finesse or any kind of real moment to think about it or talk about it, then it felt almost like a cheat. It felt like I
are you suggesting that you felt like there needed to be, when they reconnect, that there needed to be some compassion there or something
No,
deeper?
I don't think I'm suggesting that it should have gone in any specific direction as much as I would have loved for them to have taken more time with that. I would have loved for them to have developed that as opposed to...
Okay, I can sort of see that. I didn't mind it, but that's a minor flaw. Quite frankly...
Let me put it this way.
No, let me finish. In terms of the surgeon's motivation, it completely makes sense to act as quickly as he did. I mean, it's true to the character, because that's what happened. There was a beat, and then there was an ambush, if you will, and he acted very quickly, and you wanted something that moment milked more. But I'm not sure that'd be true to the character.
It was a very contrived ambush, is what I would say, and also I just think that for a character that was
contrived, how
was legit, because it felt really random. It was a very tacked on ending to me.
Random in the sense that he was there.
Random in the sense of how she discovered him and how they pursued that. Yeah.
Well, I think that this is where I think this is a strength of the screenplay, is I think that there was some intelligence there in terms of how they. I think it makes sense because now I'm trying not to give too much away. The whole reason that she was there to begin with was because of him. He spoke to another patient at this place, patient blabbed, and that led her there. So I don't think it's if she just happened to be randomly walking down the street and found him there, then that would be contrived. I'm not so sure this is that contrived. Davey?
No, I agree. I thought it made sense, and I thought it was I thought it was fine, and it didn't bother me at all.
Davey, while I've got you on the lens here, do you have any thoughts? And before I go back to Damien, do you have any thoughts about this concept of where are you in terms of this moral dilemma of the film? This hangs over the movie like a cloud of the.
I thought the stakes were pretty high because I think that the lie, there's definitely a rationale for it being a good thing for them to do that goes beyond self-aggrandizement, but on the other hand, there was definitely some CYA going on there, and there was definitely, some false valor there, So it's the kind of thing that I think could tear a person apart over the years, living with that kind of guilt.
Okay, so you feel like you felt like they would have told the right thing was to tell the truth.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's such that those are the best ethical dilemmas, is the ones where it's, what it's hard to say.
J Money, I have another question for you, and we're running out of time, but I just wanted to I mean, like, do you feel like just that what you consider to be a contrivance that Davey and I don't, is that really like, was that the bottom of the brick that made the whole mountain fall down? You know what I mean? Like the whole structure fall down for you, or was there more? Do you have more issues with the movie?
I have to think about this retroactively. I suppose that was the one thing that sort of tore apart the final, the conclusion.
You're talking about the final 5 minutes. So for an hour and 42 minutes, you were in. Is that what I'm extrapolating?
Well, it's more like I was in for like an hour and 25 minutes. Let's put it that way. I guess I felt like the third act in general sort of was not. It's definitely was changing up the rhythms from the first half of the first 2/3 of the movie or whatever, and it was trying to build up the same sort of suspense, and it didn't quite get there for me personally. And then again, I felt kind of let down by the ending. So when you put all that together, that's where it all netted out for me.
Can you pinpoint the moment where it went astray for you?
Pinpoint the moment where it went astray. Let me think.
Because you said the third. I mean, like once that we were back to present day for good, that you were out. Is that?
Not. I'm trying to think now. Perhaps.
I guess I'm just trying to understand because, I mean, your complaint was about the last 5 minutes specifically, but.
Yeah, well, I complained about the last 5 minutes specifically because I felt like I felt like I was robbed of what could have been a more interesting sort of, I don't know, dynamic between them or something that could have happened. I don't know what could have happened. I'm just saying that, but.
Yeah, no, I know.
But ultimately, I do think that I wasn't nearly as interested in that last act as I was in the rest of the movie.
I mean, like, I will acknowledge that the 1965 stuff was far more interesting to me, and a lot of that to me has to do with Jessica Chastain's performance. Is riveting, I think, as young Rachel. Davy Joe had a question, and I want to close with that. So, Davy Joe, now's the time.
Yeah, there was something that you spoke about in the last indie with the lens and having the two focuses, and I just noticed there was a scene in this movie where she's talking about her daughter. They're at the beach, and the focus is back on the daughter, and then it snaps back to her. Which I thought
that's a rack focus. That's not the same thing. That's one lens.
It's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite of the way they handled it in the other movie.
In Dangerous Method, yes, with the diopter lens, which I talked about during the Dangerous Method.
So
but that's a good segue because there's a diopter shot in our next classic coming up. So that's our segue. Perfect, Davey.
Wait. Did you actually ask the question?
Well, this is basically the question.
Oh, sorry.
Did you prefer this? I mean, did you think that this worked?
Generally speaking, yes. But as you'll find out in our classic, I'm not against all diopter shots. I mean,
okay.
I think specifically it works in our next movie, but it's only one shot in our next movie versus in Dangerous Method. It's repeated a lot.
What triggered it was you saying that maybe you like this movie better now, and I was wondering if it was that exact moment that made you think, man,
no, I think
maybe
overall,
this is better.
I think overall, but I mean, like, I will say that the amount of diopter shots in Dangerous Method, I didn't remember that when I rewatched it, and it did not sit well with me. So it might have didn't bring the debt up, but it brought Dangerous Method maybe down a little bit.
Okay.
Anyway, that question was longer than I expected it. So so we're good with our indie spotlight. What's our next indie? Okay, in our next indie, also from 2011, a modern actress takes on a Hollywood icon in our next indie up for discussion. And next movie up for discussion in about 8 minutes is that right? Yeah, look at that. 8 minutes is The Lion in Winter, a classic from 1968, and we're going to talk about that very shortly. So tune in for part 3 of the No Name Cinema Society meeting, if you will, and that's coming up at 9 o'clock Pacific. 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific with these same 3 jokers. Lion in Winter coming up next.